Sonic Boom Episode 3, My Fair Stixie. We start out seeing explosions raining down the village, making civilians run away, and Amy says they should be making wishes on the shooting stars. But she's actually being serious, instead of making a sarcastic joke, because this is a horrible disgrace to Amy's character. Heroes have Stix use levers to fling some stuff from catapults, and oh, that's it? We just cut to her being paranoid of a letter she got? And she gets nominated for an award, and I'm just wondering how the hell they thought it was a good idea to skip past the proper end of that action scene. It just started. Anyways, Stix got invited to a buffet award ceremony by the mayor, and Sonic says that it could be her who would get an award. Wait, so she's not guaranteed to get the award? She helped save the village! And Tails says she might win a trophy. Why did they have to overcomplicate the story? Just give her an award. Also, wouldn't it be Tails who should get the credit? Wouldn't Tails be the one who made the catapults or whatever? How does Knuckles not know how to read anyways? It's an unusually funny joke for the show, but I didn't laugh, mainly because I was already spoiled on it a long time ago. Knuckles not knowing how to read would have made sense for a Knuckles who spent his whole life guarding the Master Emerald, so he wouldn't learn about reading from human civilization, but this is Boom Knuckles. Stix is scared to go to the awards ceremony, naturally, since she's paranoid. So that would translate to social anxiety. And she somehow doesn't know what the word lady means. And Amy decides to try to teach her how to be a lady, because the writer is obsessed with her being a girl. So Amy, of all people, is going to be the expert on how to be a lady. She says that she can't discuss garbage, and Stix says she's out, and she says she needs an escort. It was sweet of Stix to hug Sonic for reluctantly agreeing to go with her. Amy tells Stix that she has to start with a compliment when greeting someone, asks her to say something nice about someone's perfume, and she sniffs her and says she doesn't stink. Then she shows Sonic a picture and says that if he doesn't like it, she'll knock him out. And Amy sexistly says that ladies don't fight. I hope this episode got flack for this, seriously. She fights literally every episode. The fact that anyone would write Amy to say that, and nobody in the show corrected her? How'd that happen? It'd be better if instead Stix was told that she could get prosecuted for assault or threatening someone if she tried to be violent at an awards ceremony. That's advice that could be applied to any gender, without promoting a stereotype just because Stix happens to be a girl, and a girl's doing that promoting, which is all the more confusing. True, fighting is unladylike, but they're trying to teach Stix to not behave like a wild person. That's the focus, and that's how she keeps screwing up. It's not just about her being a tomboy. She'd be a wild person if she was a guy, but because she happens to be a girl, suddenly it's about making her a proper lady as well. It's unfair. It's so confusing that the writer got away with this in the 21st century. In a kid's cartoon, so like you'd expect them to make a message against this. I could understand her saying, don't get into fights, it'll make a bad impression. Do you think Amy would be the last person trying to tell someone to be ladylike? Being short-tempered and prone to violent behavior is kind of what she's known for. She's the opposite of ladylike. She's the last person who should be coaching her on this, and nobody points this out. But I guess that's different with Boom Amy, because I haven't noticed any of her well-known personality traits here, aside from being a jerk. You might as well have had a different character entirely at this point. It's only Amy for marketing reasons. Every main character acts completely unrecognizable in Sonic Boom, not just Amy. So no wonder they gave them all redesigns, because even the personalities aren't the default. Except for Tails, who's the best he's ever been. But I feel like he's only this way on this show. So he's still technically unrecognizable if you've watched Sonic Lost World. While it is an extreme blinker you'll miss it moment, like I had to rewind the video to even see it, it was impressive that Knuckles can play the piano. And it's nice that Tails can play the drum set. They're actually acknowledging that Knuckles can have a talent, that he can be intelligent in some way. He's lucky he can play the piano with all those pointless bandages on his hands or whatever. You can't do stuff like type very well with gloves on, because then you're not feeling things as well under them, and they make the area around your fingers too big. But yeah, it'd be an idea for an episode to have Knuckles win a piano competition. Instead, it's just a 2-second thing that the writer forgets. And then Styx and Sonic fall because they were trying to dance. Even though Sonic is supposed to be cool. I get that Styx needs some proper lady training to not embarrass herself at a fancy, uptight, rich person party. But why did anyone think she should be invited to that? Why is it a fancy, uptight, rich person party? This whole plot is forced. Everyone would know what a bad idea was to invite her because everyone on the island would know what Styx is like. If the excuse for the plot is that she's being given an award for heroism, why can't she just get an award, like, on a stage in front of everyone outside? Like how you would see the mayor handing the hero the key to the city. Knuckles hates the way the overly realistic looking food tastes like. And the overly stereotypical rich man with a monocle says that Knuckles is funny and starts laughing from what he's saying. Somehow thinking that he's saying what they're all thinking. Huh? And Styx is confused because a rich person tells her an overly long name for a fork. Then Sonic asks how Eggman got nominated. And he fortunately justifies it by saying that he decided to make a ballot printing robot or something. She awkwardly compliments a part of his body, and he says he was doing exercise, apparently, when no other Robotnik is weight conscious. And we'll never see him slim down. It would make sense if we immediately saw a flashback to modern Eggman, so it could be an explanation for how he slimmed down into Boom Eggman. Somehow, some random guy is offered an award instead of Styx! Why did I ever have faith in the show to not do that? And Eggman suddenly reveals he has a giant robot with him, only to have it shoot ballots instead, and humorously say that this wasn't very menacing. Well, maybe if the ballots shot out really fast, they would be deadly. Styx is told to help and says no because the lady doesn't fight, which gets her friends captured in blue bubbles. So, the writer's against this message? And eventually, after Eggman shoots some lasers, she realizes how stupid this is, and gets rid of her dress pointlessly, and throws a boomerang to free Knuckles and Tails. She didn't need to get rid of her dress, you idiots! A civilian saves one of the heroes from a laser, and Sonic and Amy get freed, and Sonic runs around the giant robot to spin it. It's always good when the heroes use their powers in a creative way, instead of always attacking them generically like the show does. And Styx throws something at it to make it start smoking. And somehow all the Buzz Bombers just politely fly away following Eggman, instead of needing to be destroyed first. What kind of badniks would do that? The heroes would have to destroy them, or they constantly keep attacking. What killer robots would do that? This was stupid in the Sad AM pilot too. And who the hell would give an award to this random turtle instead of the person who saved the village? That's so stupid. At least explain to us that the turtle saved 2 villages. It feels like the writer was really stretching for an excuse to have Styx be invited to an upper-class party, and couldn't find one that made sense. She'd just get an award from the mayor and that's it. Maybe with some reporters taking pictures in front of the mayor's office. And nobody would ever invite someone like Styx to a party like this. Quote-unquote party, because I can't see how this is a party. There's no dance music, no dancing at all, and people just stand around boringly. I at least like that Eggman made a ballot shooting robot to rig the vote for him to get invited. But why would he do that instead of just threatening to kill people with his robots until they let him show up? This is so mercifully non-violent of him. It'd be fine if we saw the people getting the votes for Eggman look scared, and then say, well, if we ignore these votes, he'll be furious with us. He'll show up no matter what we do. It was interesting to see how awkward Styx would be at a party like this. Like it develops her character more. But they were so ridiculously stereotypical with the rich people that it was impossible to focus and take the story seriously. Because I'm pretty sure no actual rich people are like this. Do people even still wear monocles? And what kind of rich person would have that kind of stereotypical snooty voice after all the times it's been made fun of in the media? I could kind of understand it in Sonic Underground because that was back in the 90s. And it's not a show with a good reputation anyways. But when this show came out, this was an unfunny cliche even then, wasn't it? There's much better ways to make fun of the rich than having them wear monocles and talk funny in this ridiculously cartoonish cliche fashion. Arrested Development did a way better job. Show them being frivolous with their money and embezzling and being condescending. But there's no room in this plot for that, so it's just unfunny and bland. That's a nitpick though. I'm much more annoyed with the fact that the writer felt the need to have Amy tell Styx that ladies don't fight, and Styx took off her dress just because she was gonna do something actiony. Why the hell can't a lady do what she did while wearing a pretty dress? That's the best of both worlds. What a clueless message. You can tell this was by a male writer. I mean, who other than Amy was going to be able to act as the authority on how a proper lady acts when Amy is the only female character in the cast other than Styx? And she is seen as girly. I mean, she has pink hair and a high voice. But other than that, since when is Amy a proper lady? She's always been the opposite. If anything, she'd be a feminist, not like this, actively telling someone to not act like Amy would. She's known for having a bad temper, being violent with a sledgehammer. And her whole joke since the beginning has been about how she subverts gender expectations because she's chasing the guy. And now she, of all people, is telling Styx how to be a proper lady, as if she has any sort of understanding of what advice to give, when the only thing most Amy's have that's girly about them is their pink hair and dress. And I'm not sure if that's intentionally supposed to be the joke, that she's a hypocrite, because we don't see her snarky friends calling her out on it, when being snarky is supposed to be Sonic's character. I guess the logic is that she's seen enough TV to know it's considered ladylike, and actually applying it to herself is another thing entirely for her, so that does make sense, but even then, this was clueless and unnecessary. It'd be fine if they just had the message be that Styx should be herself, and not awkwardly try to be someone she's not, and for the most part they do. I liked the action scene at the end, it was creative. It's nice that lots of different stuff was happening, like a civilian pushing one of the heroes away from a laser, and one of the heroes threw an object at the robot. And it was very clever of Eggman to have something in his robot that trapped the heroes in force fields, so they're basically helpless. But why couldn't he have just done the same to Styx, especially after all the time she was just doing nothing against them? Logically, it would have taken her a long time to return to her normal clothes. Wouldn't she have been feeling hot? She'd have to have super strength to tear her dress off that easily. Or the dress could be made of really flimsy material. But for a supposedly self-aware show, the stupidity wasn't lampshaded at all. The point is, if Eggman has such an overpowered tool to use against the heroes, why doesn't he just win immediately with it, and constantly use it? Shrink the force fields to crush them to death with them. What, because that'd be too easy for him? Then why does he bother making machines that can trap the heroes and keep them from moving if he thinks actually killing them when they're like that would be too easy and cruel? What would he actually do if Styx was trapped with the rest of her friends? Just stand there and let one of them go free to have a challenge? What an idiot. Why did he even go to this award ceremony? He should have known he had no chance of winning. He knows his reputation, every Robotnik does. This was kind of a stupid episode. I did love the sheer variety in how Styx was embarrassing herself when her friends were trying to teach her to not be so wild. Which is really what this was about, until the ladies don't fight thing. I wasn't angry at this episode, but I was pretty confused. Sonic Boom Episode 3-2, Fortress of Squalitude. We start out seeing the Eggman's base is on top of a volcano, or in a volcanic wasteland. And Eggman's sorting through the physical mail that somehow still got delivered to him in the 21st century, even in a base like that. Cubot hopes that the mail he got was from a robot that would date him. Why would he be programmed to want that? Let alone think he'd have a chance. Then Eggman is told he'll be considered for the Island Fortress issue by a photographer that could come inspect his evil base. What the fuck? No one would want to go here, except to bring a bomb here. We get a montage of Cubot and Orbot cleaning up the base. Seriously, this would be a trap for Eggman, not something you'd have a chance of winning or anything. Why does Eggman even trust this guy? He shows up and has the balls to insult Eggman's base, calling it retro, even though it has white walls all over the place. And he says that his lasers are colored wrong, talking as if there's a whole magazine dedicated to evil layers. So there's more supervillains than just Eggman, and they're open about it? What the fuck? Every supervillain would have been caught and arrested, and there's no way this guy would support them. He's not saying that he thinks there's something in it for him. Amy then wastes a long scene of padding, and then Eggman approaches her, which realistically leads all of them to be mad at him. Then Eggman says he wants Amy to decorate his lair. She's so eager to decorate a building that she'll go help Eggman, even though Tails is telling her the obvious. Why the hell would Eggman think Amy Rose would know how to make his base look more evil? The girl with pink hair. And all he's telling Amy is to make the base look fantastic. What's she supposed to understand with that? Why would she help him? This is a confusing, idiot plot. I mean, wouldn't it make more sense for him to hire a guy to decorate his lair since it's an evil lair? Like, why would Eggman assume that a girl with girly pink hair would know how to make a lair look super evil looking when she's not like a evil girl like Azula? Why doesn't he just assume that she'll make his base pink? It's not like we see him tell her, don't make the base pink. That's not even a brief gag where we see it like that. Why does Eggman sound feminine in the show? Like the actor's trying to make him sound entertaining and comedic, but he's taking it in the wrong direction because he thinks that feminine is comedic. Look at how big Eggman looks. How is that not manly? There's a long, boring montage where Amy does some decorating I can barely notice. Eggman wastes a perfectly good pillow destroying it, and some rose petals are scattered on Evil Base's floor. Well, there is Amy Rose there, but otherwise, his base looks no different other than having red curtains and a cheerful, colorful looking painting. Eggman says that this photographer hates it, which immediately gives away the predictable, unfunny twist that the photographer loves it, even though the base looks almost no different. Eggman tries to take credit for the design. The photographer, oh, he's not a photographer. He's just going to be back tomorrow with the photographer. I didn't know how else to describe him. Why would the contest waste time instead of just sending the photographer right away? Why does this guy show up? To just waste time with a middleman. They just had to give him a German accent because he was in favor of some supervillains. Eggman captures Amy, and then says that at least he appreciates her, unlike her friends. Arbitrarily, Knuckles eats a napkin, and then when Sonic goes to Eggman's base to question him, he doesn't buy that Amy's decided to stay with Eggman herself. And Knuckles explains that he snuck into the base through a sewer pipe. That's considered padding that they should cut out, but the montage wasn't? I would have much rather seen the heroes earn getting to Amy. So Amy easily gets freed after like 2 seconds of kidnapping where nothing is done with the concept. And I really have to wonder why Eggman even kidnapped Amy, and what Eggman planned to gain in keeping Amy there when she served her purpose already. Why keep her alive then? It's not like he has brainwashing power, so there's no stakes. He can't roboticize her. The heroes get threatened by and beat a bunch of badniks. There's not only buzz bombers, but also some red badnik as well. And I like that Tails destroyed it with an object. Eggman's scared when the photographer shows up and is snarky that the badniks all got destroyed, and she fires the guy who came in with her for no reason. And Orbot is nice enough to advise him to take a ride on a roller coaster to cheer up, talking as if he did that before when he's a robot. Who would let him do that? Then Amy offers to decorate Sonic's house, and he gives her some limits on what she's allowed to do. See, why didn't Eggman do that? I mean, Eggman's a control freak. That's supposed to be most of his character, actually. Like, it's out AM and Underground. So you'd think that if Eggman hired her to do this, to redecorate his house, he would be so controlling that she would end up decorating it the exact same way that he would. This was a boring and humdrum episode where Amy somehow agrees to redecorate Eggman's base in a way that's barely even noticeable because of a villainous lair competition for a magazine, which logically shouldn't even exist. It's surprising that she didn't try to make his lair pink, but I guess she was smart enough to know he'd turn her down. Seriously, it would make more sense if instead of a magazine, it was a secret illegal website. Well, it's nice that Amy gets some more development and depth because she knows how to be an interior decorator. But obviously the only reason she's got that talent out of nowhere is because she's the only girl of the team. It's less creative effort and passion for developing a character and more, well, she's a girl. Tails would fit these roles just as well because he doesn't have to be manly to be in character. This is like how the only girl nature sprite in Story of Seasons is also the only one with a feminine personality. Like she's a romantic and she's praising everything, like she's praising nature and everything she cooks is sweet and she's the one cooking for all the elves, go figure. I'd rather have the episode be mostly about exciting action scenes than about barely noticeable, forgettable little scenes where Amy redecorates Eggman's base without changing the general color of the walls or anything. Because I guess that was too high budget for the show. You know, to change the colors of the walls. You'd think that she'd turn them black. Like, if it's about redecorating a layer to be as evil looking as possible, why isn't the layer black? Why isn't that the common sense idea?